Guys, what's going on? Come on in. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I want to say hello to everybody, and I'm also here with Tierra KJ Williams, aka Miss Black Hollywood, aka CEO of the Real Network, and also CEO of Real Virtual. How you doing today, T?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Good. Now, you and I, first of all, as everybody comes in, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And so I want to talk about this topic that you brought to my attention. It has to do with you know how I feel about these celebrity marriages anyway. They most of them turn to crap. And apparently there was one with Iman Shumpert, the NBA player, and
hmm
Teyana Taylor, the drop dead gorgeous actress and
hmm
dancer and just super talented lady.
hmm
And apparently they've been getting real ghetto with each other in their marriage. What's going on with this?
Not they have been getting real ghetto because initially, when Tiana went to file the divorce papers, she did it secretly, just using their initials, and it was Iman who was like, "No, let everybody know what's going on. Add all of take out our abbreviations and add our name." And so ever since, it's been this public battle with him allegedly. I'm gonna use the word alleged, but I believe it. Him cutting off utilities at the house, him taking $4 million out of the account, him just being petty and mean and asking for all the things that he's ever received from her or anything that he's ever given her, he wants it back. So there's all of these like bitter, responses to this, drawn out divorce. So that's
Mm,
basically the baseline of where we are. Well, obviously they settled the divorce, but I'm saying in terms of relationship.
really? Okay.
hmm
So so you're saying that there is this divorce between these two, and that she wanted to keep it quiet. She kind of wanted to handle it as just like, okay, we it didn't work out. I wish you the best. And he was the one that kind of came out and said, no, I want everybody to know what's going on. I
Yep.
want this to be a public spectacle.
Yes.
And that's it. Now, by the way, while you answer that question, I'm going to tell whoever's banging on my door that I'm doing something. So go ahead and do your thing. Do your thing.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Okay, he's gone. That's exactly what I'm saying. He wanted this to be a very public divorce for whatever reason. It's so weird to me that he would want this. But I feel like some of it was him wanting to get back at her for whatever reason. She said in the divorce papers that he was basically treating her cruelly, and that he was teaching her, basically was teaching her, treating her with cruelty. I'm sorry. He was treating her with cruelty. And so she just wanted to kind of handle it there, like, he's jealous of me, he's been jealous of my star rising and me growing, and when actually he was the one who was making all the money. I came into this relationship, he had made $48 million, and I hadn't made any of that in the entertainment realm. So we've
Mhm.
watched Tiana grow and become all the things that she's become, and unfortunately, her husband didn't like that. She said that sometimes they would be out be out in public, and the photographers would be like, yeah, can you move to the side, we just want pictures of Tiana. And I think he started to
Mm,
resent things like that because he
okay.
was the star,
Okay. All right.
basically.
So let me start off by asking everybody in the chat, how many of you even know who Tiana Taylor and Iman Shumpert is? Give me a yes or no in the chat if you know who these two are, and why this divorce has gotten public. Let me know if you all have followed any of this, or you kind of know what went down. And so apparently Iman was what, a basketball player for for who did he play for? Do you remember? Was it
he
like the Cavaliers or something?
Yeah, he played for the Cavaliers, and I think Tiana said he got $8 million from the Knicks.
Okay. So if I was to summarize the career of Iman Shumpert, you're looking at, I guess, what, a guy who used to be an NBA player, and he looks like about retirement age. He's not still playing, right?
Mm-mm. Nope.
Okay. And from what I'm looking at, it looked like he played at Georgia Tech, where he played college ball. He was a 17th overall pick in the 2011 NBA draft. So we're 14 years later, which means he's mid to late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
He was known for his defense and athleticism. He played for a lot of teams. He played for the Knicks, the Cavs, the Kings, the Rockets, the Nets. So he wasn't. So he got pushed around a little bit to different
Yep.
teams.
Mm-hmm.
He did win the NBA championship with the Cavaliers and LeBron in 2016. He's also tried to do some stuff in entertainment, releasing several rap songs. Oh wow, that's
Oh
so.
yeah, he was a rapper for a
Uh,
little while. That's right.
okay, so a 30-something-year-old black man that wants to be a rapper. That's so original. I didn't
We've
know that
never
there.
seen that before ever.
I've never seen that before.
What?
Yeah. So here's what's interesting, right? I think first and foremost, I don't think we should or have to speculate on this relationship. Like nobody really knows.
For
He
sure.
said, she said, and here's what we know about this relationship. In my view, we know he chose her and she chose him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we know. And then we know that for whatever reason they decided to renege on their vows and not choose each other anymore. And so now they're in divorce court. And another thing we know for sure is that the biggest victims of a divorce are the children.
Right.
It's not the man or the woman, in my opinion, it's the children, because the
Right.
children didn't sign up for any of that. They signed up to have two parents that were going to take care of them, and apparently the two parents aren't getting along for whatever reason. Um, Now, what I'll say to just as a man in general is I'm not comfortable with people creating narratives around their private relationship where we don't know. For all we know,
For sure.
she could have been an absolute terror to be married to. We just don't know that,
That's
right?
right.
And people will come out publicly and say, "Oh, he cheated," and okay, he's an NBA player. They screw everything. I could have told you that before you married him. I'm not saying every NBA player does it. I'm not saying it's okay. Kobe Bryant, for example, screwed everything. We got a glimpse of that when he got caught with that white girl in Colorado.
Mm.
What people were caught up in with Kobe was, did he rape her or did he not? What I noticed was the stuff nobody else talked about, which was, dude, you had unprotected sex with a woman you met 45 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Damn. That's living
Mhm.
on the edge. That's living dangerously. That's suicidal behavior.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think that it's just sort of like, you're not surprising anybody if you marry an NBA player and you say, oh, he cheated. If you don't want somebody to cheat on you, don't marry an NBA player. That's for sure. I mean, you got these 6'7" millionaires going all around the country. They're away from home, 300 days out of the year. It's kind of like a breeding ground for behavior that may not fit. Like men who are in the house at home next to you are typically not as easily caught up in BS as men who are traveling all the time. So get that off the table. I don't even want to talk about that. Because Teyana Taylor is gorgeous. She could have married a regular guy. She could have got her a plumber. She could have got her a bus driver. She could have got her a medical doctor. She could have got her all kinds of men that would have sat right next to her beautiful ass and said, you know what, I'm gonna make sure you know I don't cheat on you because I'm gonna be right here with you every day at dinner. But no, she said, I want the big 6'7" millionaire that every other girl wants. And I'm going to see if I can be the one who tames this lion and makes him into solely my possession. I don't know if that works. I think that's a failed strategy. Do I sound cynical when I say that? What do you think?
Absolutely, you do. Absolutely, you do. Because on the flip side of that, there was interviews where the two of them were together, and he was like, "I pursued Tiana for like 4 years straight." And I told her I wouldn't be the man that has hurt her like the other men that has hurt her before. And so I think on the flip side of that, it's just like you also have to know that he walked in and was like attempting to sweep this girl off her feet and saying like, we could be friends and I won't do you like that, and I love you, girl, and I want to be with you forever, and I swear, just give me a chance. I want to say in an interview it was like he literally made me a promise, like I won't hurt you like they've hurt you in the past. And I think they were really young though too. So there's all of that. He probably really felt that way. But
Okay.
real life happened.
Well, you know what I think too is yeah, he spent 4 years pursuing her. And remember, he
Hmm.
spent 5 years pursuing a championship. He's a competitor. And with
Hmm.
Teyana Taylor being, I mean, she is such a pretty lady. I mean, I
Hmm.
got to give her props. Teyana Taylor,
Hmm.
shout out to my wife, prettiest woman I ever met. But Teyana is as gorgeous as the day is long.
Yes.
So she is, and she's famous. So she's going to attract what is often referred to as the big game hunters. And the big game hunters are the guys who might say, I'm going to really pursue you largely because I can't have you and because I know other men want you.
Mhm.
And so, so, and that just comes with the territory, and that's fine. And so to me, I think that it's not a surprise to me that he really liked her. I don't doubt that he liked her
Mhm.
because they had kids, they had beautiful children together,
He
they got
loved her,
married. He
right?
did things for her that he never did for any other woman. But I think that what's fascinating though is that we would make the automatic assumption that she's the only woman that he could ever like. That's just gonna be his person all the time, every day, no matter what. Even though you got all these women chasing these NBA players like crazy, is kind of ridiculous. It almost seems difficult to expect to have a normal family situation in that environment. Anyway, I know that we want to believe the fantasy, but how often does the fantasy become true? It doesn't
Well,
become true very much. I mean, sometimes maybe look at Steph
yeah.
Curry or something, but again, a lot of times you don't even know what's happening beneath the surface in these marriages.
Well, I mean, that's true, boys. It's so funny that you say that because it's almost like that's what marriage is for. It's for people who want to commit, and I think the symbol of marriage is monogamy. Like that's what we're saying. Like we're gonna be together and we're gonna like and love each other for the rest of our lives. That's literally what we're saying. So to get in a situation and then say like, I mean, I don't know how you expect that. I think that I saw a Breakfast Club interview of the two of them on there, and they were talking about, they were alluding to, they didn't say, but they kind of said that she even was keeping it like open, like an open relationship for reasons like I'm sure what you said. But I think just inviting that type of energy even into your relationship, it gets messy and there's spirits everywhere. And, depending on what you believe, we're all spiritual, beings. And you that's what that is. Like you're inviting all of these different spirits into I think your what's supposed to be sacred. So I knew that wasn't going to work, but yeah, so I agree with you, but I just have to counter and say like that's what you signed up for. You got married to say
Mm.
like I'm going to be with you. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that that's an accurate point, and I don't disagree with that at all. I As I'm doing research on these two, one thing I can say, and again, I probably sound cynical because again, I'm not 25, I'm twice that age. But how old were they when they got married? Well, they got married in 2016.
Mhm.
They were about 25 to 26 years old, depending on what month it was. Iman was so process this. I want y'all to just kind of be honest with each other and yourselves. What's the probability that a 25-year-old black man who's handsome as hell, 6'6", 6'7", whatever he is, he played next to LeBron, so he's pretty big, looks like, um, with making $8 million a year, is not going to be roaming the streets, out in the streets potentially. He's away from home 300 days a year, surrounded by groupies everywhere. I just kind of, I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm saying that maybe it's time that we kind of confess to the idea that sometimes people make promises that they're not able to keep. They want to try to keep the promise, but perhaps they can't, right? And these two get married. They're in their mid-20s. That's a great age to get married. That's a great age to commit, a great age to build a family. That's the perfect breeding age, actually. The perfect time to breed children is, especially for women, is like 25 to 30. That's what all the studies say. Even younger, actually, in some cases. But the question becomes, if you build relationships, how traditional should you expect that relationship to be? Especially when you are caught in a world where everything is so superficial. And I'm gonna tell you like this: I'd be curious to know. I know this family is gorgeous. You look at them on the cover of Ebony; they are the pretty. They're like this beautiful, freaking. They could be on a birthday cake. They look so just, just perfect. You know what I mean? Like they look that perfect Nubian family that we all fantasize about, and women get excited about it. But how often does that perfect Nubian family and fantasy turn into a nightmare for somebody? And I wonder if it's because we get caught so much in the flash that we forget about the substance. Like, what's the substance of your relationship? Like, you know how to look good on the cover of Ebony magazine, but have you put in the work required to really make the commitment necessary to have the kind of stable marriage that you're looking for? And that does require tremendous sacrifices on both of their parts that I wonder if either one of them really knew what they were. Obviously, they couldn't make those sacrifices because now they're looking crazy in divorce court, and their kids are traumatized from this, I'm sure, because kids hate divorce. I don't care what nobody says. Kids don't want to see their parents fighting each other, especially in the streets where they can go look it up on Google and see what mommy said about daddy and daddy said about mommy. None of that's pleasant for a child. So my thought would be like, did he really think about what that really means when you're 25 years old and you're trying to fit into these expectations of marriage as a multi-million-dollar NBA player? And then was she realistic with herself about knowing what she signed up for? Or did both of them get so caught up in the superficiality of being a celebrity couple that they forgot about all the sacrifices that are required to make a marriage work? What do you think?
Like you said, all of this, all we can do is spectate. I'm not going to make it seem like I know Teyana or I know Iman, but what it looks like from the outside in, just watching, they had a reality show, which doesn't mean anything because, I produce reality TV. I know that's fake, um, but what it looked like is that this was a solid young lady that was looking for commitment. Like, I think she wanted what she signed up for. Just the way she moves. She was always supportive, and even when there were rumors of cheating, she always came out and was like, no, he's not cheating on me. He's not cheating on me. Everything is fine. This is my husband. I love my husband. We're together. This is cool. Every single time something came out, even when he sent a text message, I saw, and the only reason why I know all the things because I looked today, but he had text messaged Jaden Smith's girlfriend or DM'd her and was trying to shoot a shot. And even after that, Teyana was like, nope, nope, nope. That's not what he meant. He was just telling her hi. Like, all the things that could typically like embarrass a woman, he was doing, right? Even after,
Okay.
as they're going through divorce court, he's saying like, and she's saying, I want to do this privately. He's saying, nah, let's put it out there. No, Teyana has done this. No, I want your money. I want your royalties. So I'm glad about the settlement. I don't know if you saw the settlement information, but I'm actually glad that she was able to walk away with something without having to give something up, because I think she gave it a real try.
I'm going to respond to that in a moment. I want to say welcome to everybody. You're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm here with Tierra KJ Williams, who is the CEO of Real Virtual, and Real Virtual can help you get your business off the ground. They have a team that can help you formulate your ideas and execute those ideas. So if you're looking for a team that can help you execute that teamwork component of your business, reach out to Real Virtual for a consultation. And the website is realvirtual.net. T. Is that it?
www.realvirtual.net.
Okay, realvirtual.net. Okay, I'm going to put this on the screen so everybody can see it, so that if you want to go take a look at her business, you can definitely do that. It's great for those of you that want to generate extra income and start that business and get things going. I know that teamwork makes the dream work. That's definitely a big part of what I do. So I'm going to put the URL up there. And also, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Okay, so let's, if you talk specifically about the financial side of it, you guys know I wrote a book called Financial Lovemaking, and I was really intrigued with love and money and how that interacts. A couple of things that come to mind when it comes to love and money is I was intrigued by how money can make people, especially men, look more attractive. Like I just never understood that. You have some ugly guy, he's old and fat and stanky, but his money is just like this magnet for women, which is really interesting to me. So I studied the biology of that and like what's going on with that. And then also, I was interested in how money can complicate and just, can make things better, but can also just make things crazy. That especially when it's time for the divorce. And I noticed there's this thin line between love and hate. And the more passionate people are about each other when they're in love, the more they're trying to kill each other when when they're mad at each other. Like when they decide that it's done. Typically, I mean, it's like the people that really try to hurt you the most are the ones who used to love you the most. And it's crazy what happens when that passion is flipped inside out. It's like, I don't know, it's like we're both sword fighting and we're fighting the world with our big swords, and then we turn our swords on each other. So that passion that fueled your love is the same passion that can fuel your mutually agreed upon destruction. And I really kind of feel like there needs to be a push for people to really sort of tap into the realities of marriage. And and how money really is realistically connected, and how money can complicate things unless you have some clarity. And I saw, let me ask you about this. I saw where Iman was asking Teyana for child support at one point. Is that
Mhm.
accurate? And a
That's
lot
true.
of women got real offended by the idea of a woman having to pay child support. And I thought that was really interesting because, as a man, I paid 18 years of child support. Didn't nobody feel sorry for me? So,
Mhm.
like they just took a big chunk out of my check and kept it moving. So why is it, Tierra, that women get so offended by the idea of paying child support to a man?
Well, he didn't say he wanted child support. He said that the he wanted to change what was happening, the agreement with the child support, which I don't think was so offensive. I didn't have a problem with that at all. Um, but him asking for royalties, him asking for her money, is a little weird because at some point he was the provider and the protector, and now I feel like he's being petty. It's less about I need the money because I want to sustain my lifestyle and all of that. It's not about that. He literally is being petty in the blogs. And, so I think I had a problem with that part of it. But in terms of it just felt very like he was just trying to get revenge on her.
Mm. Well,
So that was my
Earl makes a good point. I think what Earl is really saying is that people have sympathy for women when they feel like they need child support, or when women say they want to get a piece of your money. Or when a woman trashes a man, it's like, oh, she's telling her story, or she's been abused and all these other things. But for men, it's kind of different. It's like when men, I've always been fascinated by the internet culture of so many women, going out and kissing and telling, like talking about who they slept with or
Mhm.
what happened in their relationship. Because you don't see a lot of men doing that. Because I don't think a man would get a lot of empathy if he was like, yeah, I slept with this woman and she was mean to me afterwards.
Mhm.
She didn't, she hurt my feelings. Like a man can't really do that, right? So you kind of have this thing where it's almost like people have lost loyalty to each other, and they've lost loyalty to their principles, to the game.
Mhm.
Like they're not committed to anything, right? If you have something that's sacred, that makes you a little sturdier and more reliable than somebody who holds nothing sacred, who just says, look, as long as I'm good with it, as long as you don't hurt my feelings, then we're cool. But the minute you hurt my feelings, the minute I don't have a use for you anymore, I'm going to allow my integrity to sink to whatever level I think yours has sank to. And so it becomes like this race to the bottom. Like we're trying to
Yeah.
outdo each other by seeing who could be the dirtiest, who could be the nastiest, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And to me, if you're just the person who says, I'm not, that's not who I am, I'm not a nasty person, I don't, that to me is a little sturdier and more reliable, because that means that you're not going to let your behavior, you're not going to behave like a degenerate because somebody else did. Like I'm not going to let my baseline integrity be affected by what I think you did. You weren't loyal, but that don't mean I ain't got, that don't mean that, that does not mean that I shouldn't be loyal to whatever I committed to. Just because you're disloyal doesn't mean I'm going to be disloyal too. But that makes people, but then people start calling you names. They call you a simp or whatever, or stupid and all that. Like, why are you being loyal to somebody who's not loyal to you? So, but you know what I think, T? I think
Mm.
that one thing about marriage that people don't have that maybe might help people is I think if you're loyal to an idea or a principle, or committed to a purpose, that is more stable than being committed to a person. Because I think loyalty to a person, commitment to a person, depends on that person fitting whatever expectations you have, whatever fantasy you've built around what that person's supposed to be. And then when that person does not fulfill those expectations, you drop all your principles, you drop all your loyalty. So then what are you anymore? You're not a person of integrity. You're not a man or a woman of integrity. You're a heathen. You out here acting a fool, or acting ridiculous and being ghetto because somebody hurt you or whatever. Whereas I
Mhm.
think that, like, the most sturdy couples I've ever seen are couples that are like, oh, they're seen as kind of stupid, but they're committed to a bigger idea. They're like, I married this person, this is who I'm married to, and that's what it's going to be. Like Jesse Jackson's wife, people called her stupid because when Jesse went out and had a baby with some young chick, because Jesse he was Jesseing back in the day,
Mhm.
that's what it is, the pastor of the church getting all the women and all that. And they in the media went to her and they said, "Oh my God, Mrs. Jackson, aren't you going to divorce him?" And she literally just said to the reporter, she said, "I'm gonna say this one time: there will only be one Mrs. Jackson." That's it. And that was it. She just let, and so some would say that's stupid. Like, why would you, commit to this guy who's doing all these things? But but there's some people who would say that was actually kind of sturdy for her to just say, look, this is who I am. Who he is, that's his decision. But this is who I am. What do you think about
Mhm.
that?
I think they are very old school, and for I think she is very old school. That sounds like something my grandmother or my great grandmother would have said. I think it's harder to stand by someone. It's so funny that you mentioned loyalty, but in one breath, but in the same breath, you say like, if he go out and have different groupies or girls, like that's not part of being disloyal, right? It's like in one breath, it's like we're saying, be loyal to me if I make a mistake or do something. Because here's my thoughts on that, right? You know how I feel about this. I feel like we've had this conversation before
Mhm,
where I'm thinking like, if you're cheating or having other women, what does that mean? Or another woman, because
mhm,
I'm not gonna let you keep doing it. But if you have a woman, it's like, okay, let's talk about it. Like, what am I not doing? We can go through that whole thing, and it's like, okay, you had your pass for life. Like, stop that, right? You had that, and then we nip the things in the bud that were not working. But if you're saying like, what is it? Are you running away with this lady? Are you gonna keep going? Are you gonna be a repeat offender? Like, what are we doing? Because after a while, that's gonna start to chip away at my esteem as a woman. And I think I told you this, Boyce. That's what happens with women. Like, we take that internally. Men can go out and be like, hey, I'm gonna just put my penis everywhere and it'd be cool, and not even think about the fact it's just not an emotional decision. But women internalize things like that, and they start to think
mhm,
like, oh, that means I'm not good enough. That means that I've done things wrong. And so I just think it's
mhm.
it's a different, we're talking about this, but it's like apples and oranges. Like, it's different.
Mm. Well, I think that's a good point. I think that's that Venus and Mars thing. Like, I kind of feel like the best thing I ever did for myself was to read a book about women called "What Women Want Men to Know" by Dr. Barbara DeAngelis, that helped me
Mm-hmm.
understand the mind of a woman, so I could kind of process things that didn't make sense to me. And I think if women are smart, they'll do the same thing and read a book about men, so they can really understand what goes through the mind of a man. How do we interpret our love language? I don't think. I personally think people don't spend enough time studying the opposite gender. You just come in and you think that they see the world the way you do,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get it wrong, and then you're confused, then you're pissed off, and then everybody breaks up. That always All these families are breaking up. These people are making babies and ruining the kids by breaking up before the baby's even born. It's kind of becoming like this shit show. The idea of family is almost something that has become a lost concept. It's literally becoming almost extinct for a lot of people, a segment of the culture. And there's a lot of reasons for this, but I'll also say that, to your point, women do internalize things,
Mm-hmm.
and I've just found that really fascinating. I've never understood why somebody sleeping with another person has anything to do with you. It doesn't. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. They because
While we're married.
well, while we're married or while you're single or whatever, I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm not saying that's not the rule, right? The rule should be followed.
Okay.
And it's fine. Like, whatever you agree to, you're supposed to do what you agree to. But just, if you really want to talk about that, it's very confusing, I think, to a lot of men to say, like, if someone has a pleasurable experience over here, what does that have to do with you? That ain't got nothing to do with you. People don't. People, I don't know. I'm saying, give me let's have a moment of honesty in this room. How many of
Listen.
you have ever, like, been having sex with somebody and literally was doing it solely because you want to do it to hurt another person? Like, how many of you, like, really, like you're doing it in private, nobody knows that you're there except you and the other person? Has anybody ever done it and said, "Ooh, I'm really gonna break her heart. I'm really gonna mess him up. I'm gonna hurt him. She gonna be messed up when I go tell her about this experience." Like, that's the part that's so strange to me, because it's not, so that's what helped me actually overcome my jealousy. Is, my thought was, well, most of the time, if somebody's seeking pleasure, that has nothing to do with me. I might be one of the people that she's seeking pleasure with or whatever, but it doesn't. If she likes another guy, that may not have anything to do with me. Now, for women, it is a little bit different because there's more of that emotional attachment. Women have more of that oxytocin, which creates those bonds. So sex is interpreted differently for women than it is for men. But generally, if you take that away, I don't know. I think once I started realizing that, I was like, you know what? She likes me, but she probably liked somebody else before me. She might like somebody else now. She might like somebody after. She'll definitely like somebody else after I'm gone. What do I care? And people, when I say that, people think that that's weird. But then I had to be in my 40s before I got to that point. Maybe in your 20s and 30s, you think it's all about sex organs. All your love is reduced to what somebody's doing with their genitals, and I just think that that's an awfully limited way of thinking about love and relationships. Love is supposed to be deep. It ain't just supposed to be about penises and vaginas. That's kind of my little stupid theory. So tell me how dumb I am. Go ahead.
I don't think you're dumb, voice, but it sounds like a trauma response. I'm no like I don't know who hurt you, but I'm no therapist. Obviously, your wife is a therapist, but I it sounds like to me a trauma response, and that's you're
Mm,
not wrong for that. You're not wrong for being like, okay, in order for me not to get hurt, I'm just gonna put myself here, and this is the way I feel about it. That way, it can go this way. But there is no way in the world that Tierra is going to just kind of sit back and be like, it doesn't matter what you do to your genitals, even though we've gotten married. Because the thing is, we might as well have a open relationship. If you're not going to keep your genitals in your pants, then I should just go out and do this. Like what are we doing? Because then the trust is gone, and then I'm like, is that bitch at the store? Like, is there like there's gonna be, I'm going to feel it, and I'm not going to be able to trust you and look at you the same
mm.
because it's a deception, you know? And so I
Well,
know you get it. And I know,
mhm,
but to me, it's not stupid. But I'm just saying, like,
mhm.
obviously, we will stand divided on that one.
No, it's not. It's not stupid, and we're not divided. I think everybody should just do what they want to do, right? And
Yeah.
we're in agreement on that.
Yeah.
I think that when you talk about open relationships, you're right. There are more and more open relationships. They're just not called open relationships. But think about how many people there are out there with situationships.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how many, and I think that what you've got to kind of consider is that if I know a lot of men where they're seeing all these men go get married and fall in love and then get divorced and get devastated, lose their kids, lose their money. And then the only reason, and the main explanation is, well, he cheated. Then a lot of men are like, well, I don't want to sign up for something like that. So I'm just going to have situationships with women. So you're not getting the best out of men. Because your husband, even a man who cheats in their marriage, is usually trying harder than a single man. A single man owes you nothing. A single man says, I didn't promise you a nickel, so I'm not going to give you a nickel. A married man says, I'm going to promise you $1,000 and I might give you 950. Right. So if you beat that married man up for giving you 950 when he promised you 1,000, what you're doing, that I think, is you're trading in the person who at least is trying to give you 1,000 for the guy who ain't going to give you nothing, who's literally going to say, no, we're going to have an open relationship because I don't want to make a promise I can't keep. So I'm going to just keep coming to your house, getting the good stuff. And then I'm going to leave as soon as it's time to take care of the kids, pay the bills, visit you in the hospital, help you get your hair and your nails done, take out the trash, or do all the things that your husband was willing to do. Right, your flawed, horrible husband that you put out. He was doing all that. I ain't doing none of that. I'm here for you and for that. I won't even talk to your kid. I know guys, that's the crazy thing. There are guys out there like that. Like, I don't even
For
want to talk to
sure.
your children. You got 3 kids, and they're like, are you my daddy? Like, hell no, I ain't your daddy. I'm here for your mama, and that's it. So to me, I don't think that's a healthy relationship. Like, when you talk about the pinnacle of disrespect, that's disrespectful, right? That's disrespectful when a person says, I did not hurt you because I gave you nothing, but I promised you nothing. Versus the person who says, I promised you everything and I gave you 90% of everything. Right. I personally, and this is me saying this without being gender specific, as a man, I would rather have a woman who promises me her best, who falls a little short, than a woman who promises me nothing and then gives me nothing, leaves me like dead on the doorstep, won't even come visit me if I'm in the cancer hospital. Like, that's just not, I don't know. That, to me, that's the way I see it. And I think that that's an okay interpretation. It may be a little unconventional, but it's better than the shit we got out here, because these relationships are BS. They're falling apart.
They are falling apart. So I feel you on the philosophy. I think what I'm saying is that's fine. Give me 950. But let that 50 that I don't get be like you didn't put the toilet seat down. You know what I mean? Like let it be like You didn't pick up the kids from school. Oh, you got a little attitude today. Okay, it's not like I had sex with Tina, Tamika, Tanya, all the women in DMX's song, right? You're not saying
Mm,
that. So I think you're right. People should do what they want to do, but also find someone who is okay doing those same things, right? So if someone is, there's a lot of women out here that don't mind open relationships. Tierra
mhm.
Williams is just not one of them. So you might not want to come over here, but there are women that's like, yeah, I mean, we can swing, we can be swingers, and we can do all the things, and that's okay. And there's women that's willing to be sister wives. I'm just not one of them. So in that 950, I'll take all the BS. I don't want you to, I just don't want you to give your body to somebody else.
Yeah, that part I get, right? And remember, I was telling you though, there's not many open relationships. Most women say what you say. Most women say, yeah, there are plenty of women who give you an open relationship. I'm just not one of them.
Hmm.
Most men I know don't want an open relationship.
Right.
They want
Right.
an open situationship. A situationship is not the same as a relationship. A relationship means I got to answer the phone when you call. I got to check in with you each day. I got to possibly live in your house. I got to help you pay bills. I got to help you solve problems. I got to come visit you when you go to the hospital. I got to really be there for you in every way that a man is. I got to help you with the kids. Oh, that's a relationship. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of women don't want open relationships, and a lot of men don't either. So what a lot of men are picking, I've noticed, and it's a lot more dangerous, by the way. People talk about
Yeah.
what, well, I don't want, I wouldn't want an open relationship, or I wouldn't want someone to cheat because they can get diseases and bring it in the house. I get all that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But open situationships leave you open to all the diseases, right? So
Yeah.
when you go from saying, when you say my husband or my wife is crap, I'm gonna go be single. Do you know the rise in STDs among singles in places like Atlanta and Houston? It's insane, right? So you're on the
Mhm.
dating market now and you're free and easy. And so you meet somebody and you're like, gosh, I'd like to have a full-fledged relationship with this person. So let's say the person's like, oh, I don't want to make all those commitments because it's too hard, but I'll come by and have sex with you. And you got to have sex with somebody because you need it. And maybe it's, like an important thing for you or something. So we're sleeping together, but then there's no accountability for anybody once you walk out of that room. Well, that's where the STDs get spread, right? Because you have a guy like an Iman Shumpert. As much crap as he was doing in that marriage, which maybe he was getting it in, maybe he was a 20-something-year-old NBA player with millions of dollars in the bank. I bet every nickel in my bank account that some stuff happened that wasn't marital, if you will. But what do you think he's going to do as a single man? Like now he can have sex with 8 strippers at a time if you want. And some of the athletes are crazy when it comes to Chad. I remember hearing Chad Ochocinco talking to, it might have been Terrell Owens or somebody else, and they were like, "Yeah, man, remember when we went to the Bahamas and we had sex with like 18 girls in one night? It was some massive number, right?"
Yeah.
So so to me, what bothers me about the whole single space, especially in the culture where sex has really been devalued. I mean, it's
Yeah.
being sold on Instagram, for 25 cents a pound.
Yeah.
Um, you're talking about literally a pandemic of STDs in terms of just the way the rapid nature by which it's being spread.
Yeah.
And so I don't know which direction. Like, I don't think you can really get away from it completely. I don't know. I mean, again, so I think that if you say I want to divorce my spouse because she cheated or he cheated because I'm worried about catching the disease. I just, in my mind, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, but if your man has sex with 2 women in the last 5 years, but the new guy that you met when you became single and you're trying to date after 50, oh, he might have had sex with 8 women that week. And there's nothing you can say. There's nothing you can do. You have no rights at all whatsoever. Is that situation better than the one before? I don't know. These are questions I'm asking out loud because this is literally like I think we always think the grass is greener on the other side, and I think that is always a lie. I think that the situation that you're in, you're typically better off making the best of the situation you're in than by constantly believing that your life will improve if you pick a different situation. That's what I believe. Please tell
Hmm.
me where I'm wrong. But
You always tell me to tell you where you're wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You said something about the reasoning I wanted divorce is because someone's going to give me an STD. It's just like that's not the reason, right?
mm,
That's not wholeheartedly the reason. Like it's just it does something to intimacy. I think it does something to
mm,
trust. It does something to the bond of the relationship. The reason why people have sex, like you said, is to bond. is to bond and to become and to build that and to build, all the things that you need to make babies and take care of someone and love them long term. Like all of those things are done through sex and like time. And so, as if it being one of the most important things that bonds you, it just kind of hurts to have someone go and do it with someone else. Now, I understand that, like, sometimes, so we've had this conversation. Sometimes a man might want pizza for dinner instead of the hamburger that he's used to. And I understand that. But I think that communication is important on that front. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, cause I know, I'm not married. So it's like, I understand, like, long-term situations, people just need what they need. But maybe people should consider, if you have a palette for different women, maybe you should look at all of your options. You want some sister wives? Go get some, like, get women who are okay with maybe, coming through, and we get 3 women that we test out, and we, like, I don't know, all the crazy things that people do, all the secret lives that people live. Do that. But do what you want to do. Like you said, do what you want to do. But it ain't gonna work.
Okay. Well, you know what? I was looking for a list of reasons that men cheat and a list of reasons that women cheat. But before I do that, I want everybody to know you're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is Tierra KJ Williams, aka Miss Black Hollywood.
Right.
Here is her website. It's realvirtual.net. If you have a business and you want to start a business and quit your job or side hustle, whatever it is, reach out to realvirtual.net. You can do a consultation with Tierra and her team, and they can help you not only come up with the next idea for your business, but also execute the idea. And so feel free to go to realvirtual.net, not .com.net. And also let my book is the 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I have another book called Financial Lovemaking. You can find my books at drboycebooks.com. That's drboycebooks.com. And also, a lot of you already know about the pretty wildly popular Money in the Morning class that we do. I do a free class in the Black Business School that is designed on economic elevation to help you elevate your economic thinking, your financial consciousness. So if you'd like to be invited to this class, it's totally free. Just pull out your phone, text the word morning to the number 87948, text morning to 87948. Or if you live out of the country, you can go to drboyceelevate.com. That's drboyceelevate.com. All right, so we were talking about Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert and their interesting divorce, and just kind of got into a conversation about relationships. Let's not judge each other based on our opinions and our beliefs. I think that we can all agree that the Black family's kind of screwed, that divorce rates are incredibly high. These marriages, these families, these little instant families that look real cute on the internet, they end up crumbling and falling apart in front of our faces. And it says something's wrong. I think it says that we're not doing the work, to have the substance to go along with the flash. Everybody's worried about how good he looks, how good she looks, how much money they have, how much fame they have, and how cute the kids are. But nobody's talking about what is required to really know what it's like to really stay married. These two beautiful couple, beautiful children, got married in their mid-20s. And I would almost argue that Tierra, that getting married in your mid-20s is hard now. It used to be doable. There was a time in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s where people got married in their early 20s. When my parents got married, my daddy was 22, my mother was 21. And they've been married for 50 years. They are doing their 50th wedding anniversary this year. And let me just tell you about this. Here's something that everybody needs to understand. That making it that 50 years, that wasn't no damn fairy tale. All this cuteness and looking good and being on the cover of Ebony and just, and all, we a beautiful couple and all that. And that was not how my parents made it 50 years. They made 50 years by being tough. They made 50 years by being committed to what they agreed to do. They made 50 years by forgiving each other an infinite number of times. They made 50 years by dealing with their heartbreak, being able to let things go. And why is that beneficial? Well, if you go and you ask my mama or my father, are you glad you spent 50 years of your life with this other person? They're going to say absolutely yes. They're very proud of the fact that they did that. And I can tell you for a fact that it wasn't all peaches and roses. If they had gotten married in the 1990s or beyond, they would not have made it 50 years. At some point, something would have happened where men would be saying to my dad, "Oh, you a simp? Right? Why you taking care of a boy, a little kid? I was a little kid. You taking care of a little kid and ain't yours? You a simp?" Or they would have said to my mother, "Girl, you gonna let him do you like that? You do you like that? He gonna blah blah blah." And to some extent, I think anybody who's smart, you're gonna listen to women and you're gonna listen to men. You know, a lot of women don't listen to men, a lot of men don't listen to women, and vice versa. There's information out there. There's information, I think, Tierra, in the trauma. You know, when you had, as much as it was hard for people to listen to Kevin Samuels and that crew, I think there's a lot of knowledge you get out of that. If you can get past your ego and listen to what these men were saying, they were saying some things that needed to be heard. It just got lost because Kevin became famous by proudly telling women they were going to die alone, which that was my beef with Kevin. Was I said, dude, you don't have to say that. You're a smart man. You don't have to condemn people to die alone. And you saw God has a way of being ironic because he died alone, right? So the truth is, like he diluted a powerful message by making it so toxic and unhearable by so many people that needed to hear it. Because I would say on the other side of Vivica Fox, who almost took pleasure in Kevin Samuels' death, who was kind of like, almost like kind of gloating on it a little bit. She's 60 years old, talking about she looking for a man. And that's what a lot of men are talking. They're like, okay, here you are, you a senior citizen, talking about I'm on the dating scene. You really the old chick in the club. You the old chick in the club's mama. Now you're not even the old chick in the club anymore. You're the old chick in the club's mama, and you're still talking about I'm single and ready to mingle. And the numbers aren't really in your favor like they used to be. So maybe there's like an answer that nobody really wants to look for because they don't want to accept what the answer looks like. What do you think, Tierra?
You know, sometimes when I'm thinking about the things that our grandparents endured, our great grandmas, like you said, your mother, and what they had to accept from men, I know for sure women in this generation, in my generation, and the young girls, they don't want to deal with that. They feel
Mm.
like, at this point, you can see the internet is full of women saying, if he don't make $100,000, if he ain't, if he ain't 6 feet, if he is not this, they're popping the balloon, right? There's these trivial things that women are looking for. They gonna pop the balloon. And so you're absolutely right. But there are things that I don't know if I would want to put up with. Our grandparents had to put up with things because the men were the breadwinners, right? So the women had to stay home and they kind of had to work and kind of thug through that thing. We don't necessarily have to do that, right? We independent women. We're out here making our own coin, all the things. But we can't cuddle with these degrees. We can't cuddle with that money. So we have to figure out what the balance of that is, boys. I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, what are you willing to accept from another human being? Like, what about a man can you just accept and take and say, okay, I know this is flawed about you, and I'll accept that, and have those real conversations. But sometimes women get in these situations and they just really they want the wedding day, they want to throw the rise, and then afterwards they don't really want to do the work. It's just like, oh my God, I gotta do this with you every day. Like, you're here again still. So I just think we have to really decide who we want to be and who we want to be with, and kind of strive in that direction. And there's one other thing, because we talk about this often, but I often think about like Jada and Will, and we've had a conversation about Jada and Will before. But I remember I cringed when they were on Red Table talk about bad marriage for life, and but they built so much together. It's undeniable what they were able to do together. But on the flip side of that, once I read Jada's book, Jada really resented Will in a lot of ways. She talked about how he was sexually incompetent. I don't know. It's just like, what degree do you just stay with someone just to build generational wealth, and like just to stay together to say we stayed together, but you like resent and hate them afterwards? So I guess that's my question to you. I'm throwing that back to you. Like, in a situation like Will and Jada, where it's obvious like Jada hates Will. Like, I read the book. She don't like him. Like, she ain't liked him in a long time. Where you would sleep with your son's friend, and then talk about it on a Red Table talk with your husband, right? It's just like the disrespect is wild, right? So I wonder to what degree that you stay together.
Um, I think that Will and Jada definitely is an enigma. I feel like they definitely took themselves off of a perch, like they were kind of respected at such a high level. I think their respect level, at least as a couple, declined because they made that choice to reveal so much of their personal business on that show, The Red Table Talk. Um, when I see stuff like that, that doesn't make sense to me. In statistics, they had this thing we studied in grad school called the latent variable problem. And the latent variable problem basically says that it applied to statistical models. And it basically said if you see some shit that don't make no sense, that means that there's a variable underneath that you're not observing. There's some
Right.
other, you're looking at it from in a three. It's a three-dimensional problem, but really it's a five-dimensional problem. There's two dimensions that you just don't know exist.
Yeah.
And so with that couple, it's almost like we're analyzing Will and Jada as a two or three-dimensional issue, when really it's a 20-dimensional issue.
Mm-hmm.
There's many dimensions to this relationship that we will never ever be privy to.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody might be blackmailing the other person. Maybe there's something terrible that happened in their marriage that that Will does not want Jada to expose. You just don't know, right?
Well, I
So
just mean at the level. I just mean at the level of disrespect. Like, how much
Mhm.
do you take publicly? If Alicia was doing this to you publicly, like slandering you and saying, "Oh, he don't satisfy me in bed," and just like really personal jabs, would you stay with Alicia just for to build generational wealth and to say you did it and stay committed?
well, first off, I think when you say just for generational wealth, I don't think I don't think staying married just for generational wealth is really a good idea in general. I
Hmm.
think it's more so it's bigger than just the money.
Okay.
Um, you know, if I was in a situation where I was married to her and we had 5 kids that were my children, I would give up anything to stay in the house with my kids. I don't give a shit. I don't care. You can
Really?
drag me. Yeah, you can drag me. You can cheat. You can do whatever you want. I ain't leaving my children, period. Because
Hmm.
I know what divorce does to kids. I don't think we care. We don't give a damn about the children. We don't even the kids be sitting there. Your little 13-year-old son done got suicidal. He's hooked on dope now. I know people like this. I know children. I think about one in particular, but I know several
Mm-hmm.
where the boy, his dad moved out and he literally got hooked on heroin. He was
Yeah.
running the streets, getting into stuff. Now his mother ain't been able to control him since he was 13. Now he's 23. She's scared of him. She has to hide from her own son. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that would have happened if the daddy was still there. I think the daddy would have had he would have been able to be a good teammate to help her to control his behavior. And we ignore these effects. We want to, and the reason we don't see it clearly, in my opinion, is because of the egos. There's so
Mm.
many mothers who take it personal if you critique their child that they can't hear you when you tell them, like, look, your son needs a daddy.
Yeah.
All these black boys, when these women are going out here trying to date these black men, and these men are pieces of shit, they're lazy, they talking like women. They sound like a bunch of biatches. Some of them they run around talking about, well, how you gonna expect a man to make money when you ain't got no money? That's because she's a woman, asshole. She's not a dude. That's like her expecting you. That's like if you say I want a woman to have a nice booty and some long hair, and she's like, well, you ain't got no big booty and you ain't got no long hair. That's because you're a man. She's a woman. People forget this. I hate it. I'm not gonna lie. I hate it when people literally when a man will literally say, "Well, what about women? If she expects me to have it, she should have it too." No, there are gender roles. You're not the
Mm-hmm.
same.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that's that white liberal nonsense. They got that in our head that gender is a figment of our imagination, and we're all just a bunch of Brittany Grinders running around here not knowing what gender we are. To hell with that nonsense. No, you're a
Yeah.
dude, man.
Yeah.
Man up. And a lot of guys don't know how to man up because they never hung out with a man. All they know how to do is be women with beards and penises. And
Yeah.
so women have to acknowledge that part of the reason that you're dating these women with beards and penises is because you got these moms that swear they can just raise a man by themselves, and unfortunately you're raising women with beards and penises, and but yet these penises are working, so they're impregnating women and having children, abandoning them, letting people down, not committing to anything, and just going through life complaining. And so I personally think that until we have some accountability, like until men, for example, acknowledge our role in abandoning kids, like the fact that we're not doing what we're supposed to do, and women acknowledge their role, that somebody just told you that men are not important and that all your kids need is your love and not their daddy's love. Until we all start to become honest with that and have those come to Jesus moments, we're gonna keep raising some crazy ass kids. They put it this way: they will have no ability nor any concept of what it's required to build a family. In order for me to be a husband, I had to get training from my mama that was 2 decades long. I had to know what it was like to live with a woman in the house. There's so many things, so many little things I learned from my mother that told me how my mother was different from my father. That was very important when it came to dealing with my wife.
Mhm.
Even the little things like how the bathroom smells different when your mama's on her period. Like I noticed that when I was a little kid, right? So when you grow up, it doesn't shock you. Like, oh my God, what the hell is this? Right? You're like, oh, I know what this is. So same thing, and the same thing you see, I think, with girls. When girls grow up, I think without dealing with a man on a day-to-day basis, they form this fantasy of what a man is supposed to be. And the
Mhm.
fantasy is not linked at all to reality. And so they get together with a man. They're like, okay, do you promise to do this? Okay, yeah, baby, I do. Do you promise to be like this? Okay, I do that, baby. And because they're gonna say in there, it's like a student loan. You know, how people would sign up for $200,000 in student loans because all they really want is the check. And they're like,
Mhm.
I want the refund check so I can go to the mall. So I'll sign anything you need me to sign
That
so
was
I can
me.
get that refund check, right?
Yeah.
So he's signing the document so he can get a refund check. And
Mhm.
but you're really thinking that he's really gonna be able to live up to all these commitments he's making, and sometimes even he don't even know that he can't live up to it. He's trying, but he can't. So that's why I would say a 25-year-old Iman Shumpert getting married, that's a disaster waiting to happen. Kobe Bryant at 20 years old getting married. Oh, that was a disaster waiting to happen. I knew that. I said that actually. When I saw he was 20 and get married, I was like, what are you doing? That's crazy. Why would you do that? And lo and behold, a few years later, he's in Colorado having raw sex with this white lady he met 45 minutes earlier. Yeah, it just happens, and I just kind of think somehow we got to link up the fantasy with reality. It doesn't mean you let go of the fantasy. It doesn't mean you let go of expectations. You have to have expectations of people and standards and all that. But when all these families are breaking up, when all these marriages are falling apart, it tells me that there's some kind of misalignment there.
Mhm.
And I think we're ignoring it. I think that we're not being honest with ourselves and with each other. So one thing that helped me a lot in terms of getting along with women in general is I try to remember, I think what was that book, The Four Agreements, where
Mhm.
I think one of the
Oh,
four agreements is like
um,
don't have expectations for anybody, like something
mhm.
like that. It's like basically like stop putting your expectations on people.
Yeah.
Learn, do your absolute best. Pick good people to be in your life, and then accept them for who the fuck they are. That's
Mhm.
what I believe. So, but you got to pick good people because if you pick shitty people, then you're going to always be accepting shitty outcomes. And that's the other thing. People don't take enough time. It's like, oh, you look good, you're famous, you're rich, I'm going to be with you. And you haven't taken the time to really evaluate a person's character long enough to say, okay, I've seen you at your best and I've seen you at your worst. Can I live with all that? If the answer is yes, then maybe that's your person. But you got to be able to accept people for who they are. Because if you don't, and you start putting these crazy expectations on them, all you're gonna do is be pissed off and frustrated because you can't control other people. I
Yeah.
can't control women. In fact, after you talk, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. But I want you to talk because I've been talking too much. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just thinking when you were saying all of that was because in my mind I was like, well, how do I get to this then? Like, what are we really saying? So maybe we just have to allow people who get married young, and I'm gonna go back to Iman, maybe in 20 years from now, or maybe 10 years from now, 5 years from now, Iman will have a different perspective because he'll have some time to mature. He seems very, 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 very immature at this point, just in the way he's
Mhm.
publicly like trying to shame a woman
Yeah.
who's like, I mean, I just want to be cool. I don't want to start no drama. Let's not do it publicly. Like he's like, no, let everybody know. To me, it just tells me that he has
Mhm.
some growing to do.
Yes.
So when you say that, it just and women usually mature faster than men anyway. Like y'all don't mature till y'all get what you matured at like 45 boys. Like men mature
Mhm.
like you said in my 40s is when I figured it out. It's like, okay, that's when men mature usually. So waiting until later to get married or just kind of like um, just kind of like dealing with whatever it is that you have to deal with, but growing together in that direction, staying together regardless, and letting each other grow. Like, get letting each other mature, growing together, letting each other mature, all of that. So I don't know. I was just thinking that. But I was going to ask you, did you see the numbers for Iman's settlement? Because you didn't say
Um,
anything about it.
I saw something about 8,000 a month in child support, and that
Um,
he wrote her a check for 6 figures, or 7 figures? Is that right?
Yes, 7 figures, and then I'm gonna read it to you. The latest ruling includes a one-time seven-figure payment from Iman Shumpert to Teyana Taylor. Teyana will also keep four marital properties valued at approximately $10 million from their shared estate, while Shumpert will retain a Miami condo and properties in South Georgia and Decatur. Regarding child support, Shumpert will pay $8,000 a month and cover private school fees for the daughters. Both have retained most of their personal assets, including Taylor's Bronco truck. So I feel like overall it was pretty fair in terms of, I don't know what they got, but it feels like it wasn't like she came in and she walked away with all of his money or he walked away with all of her money. They just kind of walked away like and was able to, evenly break bread and keep it moving.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And by the way, everybody, you're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. If you could hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe button as well. Make sure you subscribe. And also, I'm speaking with Tierra KJ Williams, aka Miss Black Hollywood. Her website is realvirtual.net. If you'd like to get help with your business or get started or get some assistance, you can reach out to her company, and they can give you some people that can not just help you come up with your ideas, but also execute them. And also, don't forget that tomorrow morning we're going to do our economic elevation financial consciousness training. We do this every single morning, 7 days a week. If you'd like to join and you want to economically elevate, just text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and you will get an invitation to join us tomorrow for class. And it's free to the public because I want to see you economically elevate. In case you don't know, my background, my PhD is in finance, and I'd like to share that with you so that you can achieve your economic goals. Now, let's maybe we can let me tell you my funny story, T.
Yeah,
Okay.
tell me the story. Okay,
So my
I'm
funny
listening.
story is about expectations of people. So let me read. So remember we mentioned that book, The Four Agreements. And so
Yeah,
what
that's
are
my
the
favorite.
the four agreements? The four agreements are: be impeccable with your word,
Mm-hmm.
don't take anything personally,
Personally. Mm-hmm.
don't make assumptions,
Don't make
and
assumptions.
always do your best. Always
Yeah.
do your best. And I think that's a perfect setup for a good marriage, right? Try to keep your word, right? Which is a
Yeah.
big one, right? Because people make
Yeah.
vows and then they break the vows, and the next thing you
Yeah.
know, that breaks everything up, right?
Yeah.
But then also don't take it personally can kind of mean, like, if somebody, you know, does something that I just don't like, or whether it's something sexual or something, maybe that's not personal. Maybe that's just them doing their thing, right? But then again, that does conflict with not keeping their word, right? So I can get
I was
mad
like,
about
that's
that,
not
right?
what
But
they
I don't
said
I
in the
don't think
book, boys.
I will say this. I will say this. I don't want to get cheated on, but if I got cheated on, I wouldn't really take it personally. But then again, maybe I should. Maybe let me explain why, and I'm going to give you explain why in a minute. What else? Don't make assumptions.
Don't make assumptions.
Find the courage to ask questions and express what you really want. Always do your best. I think doing your
Yeah.
best is good, and I think that what's interesting about marriage is that I believe a lot of people are doing their best, but their best just isn't good enough, because I think that being married and having a family does require training and commitment, intentionality and maturity. And so, to your point, when you were talking about Iman Shumpert sort of wanting things to be public and messy, a man with children should not want that. You should not want your children to have to see you attacking their mother in public. Just because she made you mad doesn't mean you have to lower your standard and become ghetto with it, right? You ain't got to be ghetto. You can just handle it professionally, because coming together it should be done in an appropriate way. Breaking up should be done in an appropriate way. But let me tell you the story about expectations that really is where your expectations are forming a fantasy in your head can really get you in trouble. So we talked about how sometimes I think women, especially girls who grow up without a father in the house, who haven't been around men, can have this unreasonable expectation of what men are supposed to do. So they can
Mm-hmm.
spend their whole lives looking for something that does not exist. Well, men can kind of have these weird expectations too. I knew this guy. I used to mentor him at Syracuse University, and I knew him even as he got older. So after he left school, He calls me up. He's about 28 years old, and he tells me, he says, I said, so how are things going? You know, you met a girl yet? What's going on? And he says, yeah. He says, you know, Doc, these women out here, they're just no good. They don't have any morals. They blah 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 blah. They'll lie to you. And I said, oh, what happened to you? And he says, you know, I was dating this girl, and we would get together and we would pray together, and we would pray together twice a week. And I thought she was pure. I thought she was pure because we prayed together. She told me she was a virgin. She was this, that, and the other. And she said, he said that he said, man, he said, and my boy comes up to me and he says, man, I just got to tell you that right after you get done praying, she comes to my house and I blow her back out. Like he's like, we have sex, we've been having sex for a while, and I feel like as your friend, I should tell you that she's got this whole other life that she never told you about. And he was devastated, obviously, right? And he said she pretended to be pure, and it was all a lie. It was all a lie. And that's when I just had to tell him. I said, you know, man, I said, women ain't pure like that. Like they're not, nor healthy women are not, because healthy women are sexual because that's how you make babies. That's where children come from. That's why we exist. You know, if
Right.
women were as pure as we wanted them to be, then all humanity would cease to exist. So I told him, I said, honestly, man, I said I wouldn't be so hard on her, because I said, of course, you can't excuse, deception, but I said she probably wanted to sleep with you, but she was trying to play the game with you. She was giving you what you wanted. You needed her to be pure, and you're like, oh, we wait until marriage and this, that, and that. So she's trying to wait because she wants you, but you can't love the
Right.
one you want. You love the one you with. So your boy's like, hey girl, I can quench your thirst until your man becomes available. I don't mind being the replacement or the backup. And that's what happened. She didn't even really want him. She wanted you. That's why she was praying with you and letting you know how much she liked you. So the thing was, I just felt bad for him because I just kind of said, why do you have this purity expectation anyway? Like, she's human, and I just kind of think that's what happens sometimes. I think people expect too much out of other human beings sometimes. And so I think one of the secrets to accepting people is pick good people in your life. Take your time, really vet people, make sure that that they're just solid people. And then when they get in your life, it's like getting into a club, like with my closest friends. This is how my relationship is with my closest friends. You're one of my closest friends too. It's like I evaluate people over a long period of time. I make sure that they're not too crazy or too ridiculous, or that they are toxic or harmful or vengeful or whatever. And once I kind of let you in the club, I'm going to just pretty much be loyal to you and forgive you for shortcomings you may have, because I know that they're there. I know they're coming, right? And I don't know if we do that. I think we get surprised a lot, right? And what people don't realize is that when you go to the world and you tell everybody, "Oh, I love this person and they're amazing, and I'm gonna have a baby with them, and I'm gonna marry that guy or that woman or whatever," and then a year or two later, you're like, "I hate their guts. They're terrible. Let me tell y'all how abusive they were. Let me tell you how mean he was. He was horrible." You don't realize that you're really talking about yourself too.
Yeah.
You do know that, right? What you're really communicating to the world is that you don't have a lot of emotional maturity, nor do you have that patience to properly vet the people that you're letting into your life. So at that point, in my mind, I don't trust your judgment. And it's the same thing's true with Iman Shumpert. If you are dogging out the woman that you chose to be the mother of your kids, then why would you choose her? I mean, that's a sacred role. That is, she is the queen of your life. That is the woman that gave birth to your legacy. And you're talking about her like she a damn dog off the street. That tells me that you're not a good decision maker. Don't get me wrong. We all have issues with co-parents and baby mama, baby daddy. Everybody goes through that. I got a child, and my child's mother and I didn't always get along, but you don't hear me talking bad about her, because I realize that when I talk about bad about her, I'm talking bad about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if people understand that. I'll let you get the last word.
Yeah, the internet is filled with people that do that every day. I feel like on my timeline, that's all we see is people breaking up and putting it and plastering their business all over the internet streets. Um, you've given me a lot to think about, boys. You've given me a lot to think about, but you always give me an alternative perspective on things. You know, God bless. I'm glad that Iman and Teyana are, I guess, no longer together. Like they are moving forward their lives. They've settled their divorce, and now they can just move on and be the successful people that they are. I think Teyana is an amazing, talented woman. It's unfortunate that she had to go through that, but I think the great thing about going through things is life is the greatest. It provides the greatest lessons. So I'm sure she's learned a lot. I'm sure she's matured. I'm sure he has. Well, maybe not, but he will. So God bless them both.
I agree. And Heather says, so Dr. B, we should expect a lie. No, I don't think you should expect anything. I think you should expect whatever you're comfortable with. I expect lies, though. I expect that human beings are going to be human, and and in my mind, it's sort of like I'm not going to get mad at you for making mistakes or coming up short. I just because you're just recycling people, and then you kick out people in your life that you've had around for a long time, and then you're starting over with somebody new and you don't know what the hell you're going to get. You dragging shit in from the street. I don't want to drag people in from the street. I'd rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. And I do know as much as on any day I might be frustrated with the people around me. I don't want to just bring a bunch of new people in my space, because you gotta have a whole new process. And then what happens is you find yourself running in circles because you find out that the new humans that you let into your life are just as human as the other humans that you booted out. And so actually, before we go though, I'm gonna read to you this quick list. As everybody hits the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And this is Tierra KJ Williams, by the way, and I'm gonna put her website up here if y'all want to follow up. She has a great company called Real Virtual that can help you to get started with your business, your side hustle, whatever. If you want to make extra money, you can go to realvirtual.net and they can help you kind of get going. So go to realvirtual.net. Also, this podcast is on Spotify. So if you look up my name on Spotify, you'll find a couple of podcasts. You have the Dr. Boyce Breakdown. I also do Dr. Boyce Daily Stock Market, where I give you kind of daily updates on what's happening in the stock market. So feel free to look up Boyce Watkins there. And also Fly Nubian Money is something that Tierra is the producer on Fly Nubian Money, executive producer. And that is where smart Black women kind of share their perspectives on everything related to love, life, business, and everything in between. So you can find Fly Nubian Money also on Spotify. Now, let me read to you, Tierra, and I'm going to get your opinion. Then all the rest of you make a comment on this. I'm going to give you the five
Okay.
reasons that the top five reasons men cheat, according to research. And then I'm
Okay.
going to give you the top five reasons that women cheat. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
in the list, and I want us to compare the list. Okay. So the top five reasons they say that men cheat is emotional dissatisfaction. They say men may seek emotional connection elsewhere if they feel emotionally neglected, misunderstood, or disconnected from their partner.
That's true.
Two, opportunity and temptation. Access to potential partners, especially in environments that facilitate privacy and opportunity, can lead to cheating if impulse control is weak. That's NBA players. Opportunity and temptation. Women everywhere. Lack of commitment. Some men might not be fully committed to their relationships and see cheating as an acceptable option when their commitment wanes. Four, self-esteem issues. Seeking validation from other partners can be a way for some men to boost their self-esteem or feel more desirable. So if they don't feel desired or they are beaten down emotionally, they might cheat. Five, boredom or need for variety. A desire for new experiences or the thrill of the chase can prompt some men to engage in affairs. Okay. So that's the top five reasons that men cheat. All right. Now let's look at women. Let's see how much the list varies for women. And you can take
Okay.
notes on that, T, and let me know what you think. Top five reasons that women cheat.
Okay.
Emotional neglect is number one. Women may seek emotional connection elsewhere if they feel neglected, unappreciated, or emotionally distant from their partner.
That's true.
Two, seeking emotional or physical fulfillment. Some women cheat when their emotional or physical needs are not being met in their current relationship. So either they ain't getting no good, blankety blank, or their not emotional needs aren't being met.
Mm-hmm.
Three, revenge or retaliation. In some
Mm-hmm.
cases, women may cheat as a form of retaliation against a partner who has cheated on them or hurt them in other significant ways. That's interesting because revenge was not on the men's list, and it's funny that that difference is there. Number four, low self-esteem. Women might seek validation outside their relationship if they feel insecure or undervalued, using an affair to boost their self-esteem or feel more desired. Five is lack of love. If the love fades in a relationship, some women might look for that connection or passion with someone else, leading them to seek an affair. So here's what I noticed first, T. Most of the reasons for cheating for women almost always connected to some kind of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm noticing. First is emotional, if they're emotionally neglected. if they need to be emotionally fulfilled, if
Mm-hmm.
they feel the need to get revenge, that's another emotion. Low self-esteem, that's an emotion. A
Mm-hmm.
lack of love, that's very emotional. Whereas when they talked about the men, they do have some emotional stuff in here, but a lot of it is not emotional. Actually, they do have emotional dissatisfaction and self-esteem. Then there's, well, maybe boredom is an emotion, but that's a different emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Opportunity and temptation. I guess temptation's an emotion, but it's a different sort of emotion. They didn't mention
Mm-hmm.
temptation when it came to women. They also didn't mention revenge when it came to men. What do you think about this list? How do you what variation do you notice there?
I think it's really important to know that men and women, obviously, we all know this, were raised a little differently. Where I think women fall in love with the idea of love. I think there's a difference between men and women, right? This is my philosophy on this. Women fall in love with the idea of love from a very young age. We're watching Disney stories. We're like, Barbie, you love Ken, and he gonna love you for life. There's we kind of like create this fantasy, and it's over a long period of time we create that fantasy, right? So I think once we get in relationship with someone, if they don't meet those ideas of love that we had, if it's not the way it was pictured, like, well, love is supposed to look like this, love is supposed to look like that, like this is the way love is supposed to look. I think then we go to those other things like, well, I don't feel emotionally fulfilled, I don't feel this way, or I don't feel that way. And I think it's because of what we created in our minds. For men, it's a little different because you guys don't want to fall in love with women. Like, y'all, that's not the first thing you want to do. You're not like, I want to fall in love. When you meet a woman, you're going, she's cool. The woman is going, I hope I fall in love with him. He might be the one. Like, it's the whole thing. Like, we go through the whole, like, that's our experiences, right? You want everything but to fall in love with this lady. And when you do fall in love with her, you be like, she got me. Dang it. Like, it's kind of like that. Like, we got to drag you into love. And so I think men fall in love deeper that way. I think that it's easier for women to fall in and out of love based on the idea that they've created. So if it doesn't, after a while, it's like, this just doesn't feel the same. This doesn't. So everything that you said,
Mm.
and after a while, it's like a woman will say, like, "Oh, this doesn't feel the same. I want you to take me on dates or whatever the woman wants." If she doesn't get that, then at some point, I think all of those things are true, and it's really not fair. But women do it. They do it, and we, after a while, it's like it just doesn't feel the same. My feelings don't feel the same because he's not the same, and it doesn't look like it looks in my
Mm.
head. And so yeah, that's my philosophy on that. But men don't want to fall in love with women. Like, I don't think you guys do. I don't think you guys do. So of course that's it. Of course that's the reason why you cheat. So yeah, that's
Mhm.
my philosophy on that.
Have you ever heard of the term love addicts?
Yes.
Yeah, so love addicts, and I wrote about this in my book Financial Lovemaking, actually, and I remember reading about it. And I gathered some stuff here. It says love addicts are individuals who experience an unhealthy attachment to the feeling of being in love,
Hmm.
often confusing emotional intensity for intimacy. This
Yeah.
type of addiction is characterized by a pattern where a person becomes dependent on the euphoria associated with being in love, continually seeking out new relationships or clinging to unhealthy relationships in order to sustain these feelings. I think that addiction is high in the Black community. I really do. I think
Hmm.
that addiction is a coping mechanism for tremendous amounts of undiagnosed, untreated trauma that doesn't just affect our mental health or in our relationships, but it affects our spending patterns and everything else, and just our ability to get along. So I think that trauma, um, it's pain, right? You're feeling pain inside. So the best way to ease pain or to relieve stress is through some sort of addiction. So maybe for men it might show up as a sexual addiction. Maybe for women it
Hmm.
might show up as a sexual and or a romantic, a love addiction, right?
Hmm.
I don't know a lot of men who are love addicts, but I know women who just they're in love with a new guy every 6 months. And one thing that I remember reading about, when I was reading the biology of love, because I was fascinated with how it made you feel, is really interesting. Is they're like these chemicals, phenylethylamine, that are really strong, like an emotional crack that you feel in the first 6 months. And they say that
Hmm.
it gets triggered when you first touch a person. When you first touch them, you just have this blast of emotion. It's like hitting the pipe. When you
Hmm.
touch somebody new, It's just a new experience. And they said that if you want to be committed to your current relationships, don't touch another person. Don't even put yourself in a situation, not touch like handshake or hug, but like a romantic touch, like that trigger, like that will what that what'll happen is you'll be so like struck with the experience of the new person that the old person is going to seem boring. I compare it to like chewing gum. Like if you put a new piece of gum in your mouth, it's full of sugar. It's delicious. It's not that same piece you've been chewing on for the last 2 days.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's almost like you have to protect your love by protecting your environment, sort of creating a space where it's easy for you to be committed to whatever you said you're going to do, almost like a person that's trying to eat healthy food that keeps sugary food out of the house. Because
Yeah.
if you have all this temptation around you, this is why I feel bad for the NBA players trying to have traditional relationships, is that everything you're doing, you're constantly in these situations where you can fulfill all these temptations with nobody looking, and the world is encouraging that, everybody's going along with that, right? So I kind of think that overall that's a factor I think we don't think enough about. So you have people that just have these relationships. They last about 6 to 9 months, and then after about 9 months, they said that the strong chemicals start to wear off, and next thing you know, the person is not as interesting. They're not as excited. I think for men, maybe it's like on the sexual side. They said the other thing that really triggers a strong emotion is like the first, like orgasms. We people are obsessed with that. And they said that for women, orgasms really open up the oxytocin receptors. So you form strong bonds with the person that helped you to feel that pleasure. And that's what some would describe as like a strong spiritual connection. Like when a woman's with a man, it's almost like his spirit goes into her body. And but really it's also just biochemical. Like he's something to you almost forever sometimes, and I personally kind of think if you're giving somebody that amount of power, you better make sure you vet that person, because I almost look at it as, when that person gives you that feeling and they get to control whether you get to have that feeling, they almost become like your drug pusher, and you're the drug addict, and that puts you in a position of weakness relative to that person. They have a tremendous amount of power over you, and if it's an abusive person who abuses that power, you're in trouble. Oprah Winfrey, remember when Oprah got caught or was about to get caught smoking crack back in the day? And she said, I realized I wasn't addicted to the drug. I was addicted to the man.
Hmm.
I think that that's a real thing. And I think that this
I don't know where Boyce just went.
literally, can you hear me, T?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you. I was like, where did Boyce just go?
Yeah. I did. I just maybe my Wi-Fi went out for a minute. Maybe that's my cue that I need to stop talking so much. So so yeah, but I just think overall, like I think these are things that I wish people got trained on. Like I think love and attraction is so powerful that kids should literally get a course on relationships and family, because it opens this Pandora's box to, like you're just thinking, okay, I'm gonna hook up with so and so because they're cute. And you don't know
Hmm.
that's like God's little dirty trick. That's they're sucking you in. They're like, yeah,
Hmm.
come on in. We're gonna make you reproduce and multiply and all this other stuff. Then next thing you know, you're building families. And what do you have? When you have a group of traumatized people that are engaged in all these trauma responses that lead to these sex and love addictions, next thing you know, you've got these there's evidence of the addiction everywhere. The same way like you can see that somebody's been smoking crystal meth because all their teeth are missing, or smoking
Hmm.
crack because they all skinny. Well, to me, when I see a person that's got like 5 kids with 5 daddies, that's to me that's evidence of your addiction. Or if you're
Hmm.
morbidly obese, that's evidence of your sugar addiction. So
Yeah.
to me, when all these broken families are evidence of the addictions that are used to cope with this undiagnosed, untreated trauma. How's that theory? What do you think?
I'm into it. I'm into it. I like it. I mean, I'm into it. I mean, you just told me all the scientific things. I don't have a response to that. That's great. I learned a lot. I was
Well,
listening.
I'll tell you, I think it's interesting stuff. It's fun to watch. I think if you figure it out, it can really work for you, right? Like family and love and sex, all that stuff is really powerful. And if you harness the power of anything, it can be to your benefit. But if you use it irresponsibly, it can cause harm to yourself and to other people.
So whenever you find yourself in a situation with somebody and you think it feels like a soul tie, it feels like an addiction, you're like, oh my God, I'm having withdrawals from this person. Because we've all been there, right?
Mhm.
You can just literally tell yourself, like, no, 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 that's just a chemical. You're not really feeling this way. Like, it's so funny, boys. Talking to you always, like, it kind of takes the air out of things. It's like when I'm like, I feel love and I feel all of these things. You like, girl, that's oxytocin. Sit down. Like, it's just like you take the air out of everything. I hate talking to you.
Blame it on the alcohol. Blame it on, that's just drugs and alcohol talking. That's true. That's
Girl, sit
true.
down. That ain't girl. Just tell
You know
yourself
what?
that that's
If
what.
you want, check this out. So I looked up the breakdown of the biochemical process of falling in love. So
Mm-mm.
basically, here's what happens. So when you meet somebody that you like, hormones contribute to attraction and lust. There's
Right.
testosterone and estrogen. They're pivotal in the initial stages of attraction. These sex hormones are not only linked to sexual arousal, but also prompt an initial attraction to potential partners. Neurotransmitters produce a high level of dopamine and norepinephrine. I said
Okay.
it wrong. They're released when someone is attracted to another person, which can lead to feelings of euphoria, increased energy, and a focus on the object of one's affection. Then romantic attachment is driven by dopamine, central to the reward pathways in the brain. Dopamine is heavily involved in the pleasure and reward systems associated with love, creating feelings of pleasure and reinforcement to motivate people to continue engaging in behaviors that strengthen their romantic feelings. Serotonin, levels of serotonin, another neurotransmitter, actually drop during the initial phases of love, leading to obsessive thoughts and behaviors often seen in new lovers. So you become obsessed because your levels of serotonin have dropped. And
See, y'all, we ain't in love with nobody. Like nobody's in love. It's over. Like we're not really in love. We just got chemicals in our body going off and pheromones and we're smelling people and we just they
Mhm.
smell good and it's not
Yeah,
real.
if you
Love is
take
not real.
if all these chemicals leave your brain, then you won't fall in love with nobody. You won't even be attracted. You won't even be attached to your own kids. Ain't that
That's
crazy?
crazy. That
Yeah.
is crazy.
And so I'm not done. Let me finish, and then we'll be done.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
I
mm.
often called the cuddle hormone, oxytocin plays a crucial role in the bonding process. It's released in large quantities during intimate activities such as cuddling, kissing, and sex. Oxytocin helps to strengthen the bond between partners, promoting feelings of contentment and security. Vasopressin is another important hormone in long-term commitment. It's associated with behaviors that produce long-term monogamous relationships. It is released following physical intimacy and helps to maintain the bond between partners over time. And endorphins are the body's natural painkillers, which also enhance feelings of well being and relaxation. They are released during physical intimacy and touch, contributing to the comfort and happiness of long term partners. Now, I'm curious about vasopressin, and I want to know, do men and women have different levels of vasopressin?
And can
Because,
we okay.
oh, you got to go?
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
No, 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 no. I was gonna say, and aren't some of the could we be given some of the things to fall more in love? Like could they make pills of certain things and we could feel more of those things?
Well, I
Are
think that
any of
if
these
you,
things bottled? I
but
guess this is
what,
my
you know,
question.
oh, you mean
Serotonin is
like a pill? You get like an oxytocin pill or something
yeah,
like
like
that?
are there oxytocin pills? Are there like because there's drugs, right? Or there
Mm.
serotonin exists, right? So could someone
Yeah.
take yeah, right? So could someone take something and fall in love with someone that way? I wonder. It's a love question.
Ooh.
I was just wondering, like, right? They have drugs.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good. I don't know. Let me see. There's no pill or medication that can specifically create the complex emotions that we talked about. However, certain hormones and neurotransmitters involved in the feelings associated with love, such as dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, can be influenced by medications or supplements. Certain medications and recreational drugs can increase dopamine levels, right, leading to feelings of pleasure and reward. Right, that's what Molly, was it Molly? Is that right? Papa
Mhm.
Molly, I'm sweating, like stuff like that. I
I
think
don't
that
want
that
that.
can that can create like that euphoria and the
No.
connection with other
Mhm.
people. Oxytocin is referred to the love hormone. Let's see here. There are nasal sprays that can increase oxytocin levels. They are
Mm.
primarily used in research settings. The effects are subtle and not akin to creating romantic love. They might enhance feelings of trust and bonding, though. Serotonin, antidepressants, particularly sedative serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, alter serotonin levels in the brain and can impact mood and emotions. So I remember a person I knew that was taking like one of those psychiatric drugs. I forgot which one it was. It was real popular, but it was for depression. I forgot what it was. But anyway, she said that one thing that happened to her was she had no desire to sleep with anybody. She did not feel any sexual arousal, none of that. And so that's kind of like a crazy place to be, right?
Yeah, I
And
don't
then
want that.
and then, by the way, with vasopressin, if you remember vasopressin, we talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Vasopressin, it basically that was the thing that creates monogamy. It seemed like if they said vasopressin is important in long-term commitment associated with behaviors that produce long-term monogamous relationships. And so I asked, do men and women have different levels of vasopressin? And they said, yes, men and women have different levels of vasopressin. And these differences can potentially influence behavior and physiological responses in certain contexts, including social bonding and stress management. Vasopressin, known as antidiuretic hormone, ADH, plays a crucial role in regulating the body's retention of water and has significant functions in social behavior, sexual motivation, and pair bonding. Its levels and effects can vary based on several factors, including sex, as it interacts with sex hormones like testosterone and estrogen. So for men, vasopressin is often associated with aggression, territorial behavior. So this is what happens when men start to feel monogamous. They want to kick everybody's ass and fight over you. That's true. I mean, seriously,
That's
a lot of us
true.
see
No,
that.
that's
Yeah.
definitely yes.
Holy crap, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
And then
So
we
check
start to
this
not
out.
like them.
Yeah, wait, say it again.
I said, and then we start to not like them. It's like, no, you mine, girl. It's like,
Yeah, so vasopressin can create increased aggression, territorial behavior, and social bonding in males. It influences behaviors that are typically associated with male social interaction and mating. For example, in some animal studies, higher vasopressin levels have been linked to increased aggression and establishment of social hierarchies. Oh shit. Okay, women, the interaction between vasopressin and estrogen might influence social behaviors differently. While vasopressin also plays a role in pair bonding and social responses in females, the behavioral outcomes might be less aggressive and more affiliative. So more cooperative as opposed to competitive compared to males. However, the exact roles and the effects are built on numerous factors. Studies in humans are less definitive compared to animal studies. Let's see. They also say that let's see. They looked at voles. Voles have been studied extensively for the effects of vasopressin on monogamous versus non-monogamous behavior. Human research often focuses on correlation between vasopressin levels and social behaviors. It is essential to note that while there are differences in the effects of vasopressin among men and women, the variation of each sex and influence, blah 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 blah. Okay, so there's not much saying there, but I personally think that says a lot, right? If you think about how men and women behave differently when they are in love, it's interesting. Like I know that my father, when he loved my mother, one thing I remember hearing my father say is the reason he married my mother, because I was 3 and I had a different daddy. He married my mother, and his first reaction was, these two are mine. This is my responsibility. This is my territory. And then also he had, potentially almost borderline violent confrontations with my biological father saying, this is mine, stay away, you know?
mm,
And you think about that. I mean, but women can be territorial also, just maybe in a different sort of way.
yeah.
So this is fascinating, right?
You
Okay.
you got to geek out tonight.
Yeah, this was fun. I
Yeah.
think I'll do this again. This was really interesting. I think I think understanding who we are and how we behave and why, I think is really a great part of, you know, being smarter and better people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then also just emotional intelligence to me means being intelligent about your emotions. Like, why did I feel this way? What
Mm.
happened here? And then that way you can put yourself where you want to be. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I've held you hostage for an hour and a half. And it's so funny. I was real tired when I started. I told you how tired I was, but I
Yeah.
perked up with this because this was interesting stuff. And I want everybody to know I'm talking to Tierra KJ Williams, aka Miss Black Hollywood, and her website is realvirtual.net. So
Mm-hmm.
her company can help you with your business. If you want to go meet Tierra, who's an awesome person and a famous person and super smart, just go to realvirtual.net and her team will work with you to help you get your business going. They can not just help you come up with the idea and the business model, but they can also help you execute the business model. Execution is everything. And I know a lot of you are trying to look for the next level. And also, speaking of another aspect of the next level, I have a training called How to Make Money Without Working, and it basically leans on the ability to make money with stock options. A lot of people don't know that you can generate a lot of income by selling stock options, and we talk about that on a regular basis. So if you'd like to get that free training, How to Make Money Without Working, just text the word money to the number 87948. Text money to 87948. I will send you that. I'll also send you some stocks that I like, stuff like that, because I want to see you wealthier. I want to see you happier. I want to see you live a better life. That's the goal of this platform. And also make sure you follow us on Spotify. Just look for my name on Spotify. You can find my podcast there as well. So thank you all very, very much for hanging out. Hit the thumbs up button. Thank you very much, Tierra KJ Williams. I appreciate your time.
Great time.
And yes, ma'am. And we will see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.